Testing, testing. All right, Shalom. This is Brother Rock from GMS Dallas. First and foremost, want to give all praises, all honor, all glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. All right, that taught me this truth. And Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, the Akim and the Aquaf scattered around the four corners of the planet Earth. All right, and in this lesson, I want to go over, I'll entitle it Babylon's AI Action Plan, One Step Closer to the Motb. All right, Babylon's AI Action Plan, One Step Closer to the Motb. All right, and the inspiration of this lesson is from an article or from a video that the beloved brother Awarga posted in the chat. All right, and as soon as I saw the header, all right, of the article, immediately, in the spirit, I wanted to click on it and go through it. And upon going into it, I came across the AI action plan. All right, the AI action plan in which Trump, all right, and America, Babylon the Great, they're rolling out. All right, and we're gonna get a little bit into the actual document. The actual document was released in July of 2025. All right, so this isn't hot, fresh off the press, but it is relevant. You know what I mean? And it's prophetic. Because when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to the scriptures, understanding the scriptures, it's all about prophecy. Okay, it's all about prophecy. That's the bread and butter. All right, that's the pick and roll, so to speak, the fundamentals. It all starts and ends with prophecy. Okay, and a matter of fact, we can start there just to get some opening precepts. Let's get Revelation 19:10. Okay, because if you ain't talking about current events, if you ain't talking about what's getting ready to happen on the planet Earth in the form of the rise and fall of kingdoms, all right, so-called politics, right? The truth is the real politics. The scriptures is real politics. Like when you read Daniel, I want to say Daniel the 7th chapter, all right, and Daniel outlines the rise and fall of a multitude of kingdoms, various kingdoms. All right, that was politics. Okay, so if you believe in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, all right, and you have taken hold of this truth, then prophecy should be your primary concern. All right, but this is Revelation chapter 9 or Revelation chapter 19, and I'll read verse 10. But I'm gonna start at verse 9. It says, "And he saith unto me, Right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb." Okay, the Lamb being Yahweh Shah. All right, it says, "And he saith unto me, These are the true sayings of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah." All right, and those who have been called, all right, to the marriage supper are the elect in these times, and the remnant. All right, but the only ones that are actually going to consummate the marriage, okay, make it to the end, endure to the end, all right, and be changed, it's only going to be the elect. All right, no other nation. Okay, no other nation is going to take part of this marriage supper. All right, and no other nation is going to receive the blessings, the covenants, the promises that are promised to our forefathers. That's what Romans the 9th chapter is all about. Okay, but let's read verse 10 on this. This is Revelation 19:10. It says, I fell at his feet to worship him, and he saith unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shah. Worship Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, for the testimony of Yahweh Shah is the spirit of prophecy. Okay, so that's the key thing. Okay, prophecy, what's getting ready to go down on the planet Earth according to the will of the Heavenly Father. All right, now without further ado, I'm gonna get into a little bit of this article right here. Let me share my screen. All right, because this is the initial article that the brother sent in the chat. It was on a different platform, but I want to say it's pretty much the same article. All right, and it says exclusive AI infrastructure coalition launches to push pro AI policies. Okay, pro AI policies. All right. And a matter of fact, let's get the definition of the word coalition. All right. It says coalition, an alliance for combined action, especially a temporary alliance of political parties forming a government or of states. Right. It says alliance, union, partnership. All right. So there's a coalition. There's a group of entities and individuals. All right. Pushing policy, AI policy. All right. But I thought that Babylon the Great was a democracy. Right. I thought the regular people's elected representatives, were the ones making decisions. All right. In Washington. Right. Well, that's not the case. All right. That's not the case. And that's what we've been warning you people about. We don't get caught up in right, left, red, blue, up, down. Right. We don't get caught up in that because we understand that it's just two sides of the same coin, man. Right. Two wings of the same bird, however you want to put it. All right. It's a show. It's a circus act. All right. It's theater, political theater. So you can understand. All right. And the scriptures even illustrate that. Let's get that real quick. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 11. It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Right. And those two horns right here. Okay. Horns represent power. All right. And what do you have in the form of the American political system? You have the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay. But also, when you look back historically, you look at the Roman Empire, you had what? You had the plebeians, okay, and the patricians, right? Which I want to say the patricians were more of the, aristocrats, landowners, business owners, things of that nature, and the plebs being more of the common folk, the common people. All right, but let me read this again. Revelation 13 and 11, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, right? So it was appearing as if it was a lamb, right? Like this political system does. But really, all right, it's operating like a dragon, all right, which goes into draconian legislation, all right, which was known for being very harsh, all right, and oppressive, right? So let's go back to the title, all right, and we're not going to get through the whole title. And we're not going to get through the entire, the entirety of the document. I just wanted to get a few points. But it says exclusive AI infrastructure coalition launches to push pro AI policies. All right. And it says Senator Kristen Sinema, Congressman Garrett Graves invite you to join us for the launch of the AI infrastructure coalition. It says a tech-friendly group. The AI Infrastructure Coalition will launch Wednesday evening with a reception near the White House to advocate for every layer of the AI tech stack, from semiconductor manufacturers and energy providers to hyperscalers, data center operators, private equity, and AI model developers. All right. Right. And all that's a part of the fourth industrial revolution. And a matter of fact, I did have an image I wanted to share real quick. Okay, I'll read a little bit of this, right? Because the world that the world that as we know it is getting ready to change. All right. For example, in Isaiah, the 9th chapter, all right, it talks about how there will be an advancement basically in technology. But let me read this. Let me read it. Let me just read it. This is Isaiah chapter 9. In verse 5, it says, for every battle of the warrior is with a confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Right now, this is talking about World War III, okay, which is talked about in the scriptures, the third woe. All right, so this is a scripture going into World War III, but what it lets you know is that there's going to be an advancement in technology, man. There's going to be an advancement in the type of weaponry and the weaponry that's used. Okay, because now we have what? We have ICBMs, right? We have ICBMs. Okay, but we also have a lot of other, military tech. All right, drones is another example, right? Submarines that can launch nukes, things of that nature. All right, a lot of, different variations of the sword. All right, which is Esau's blessing. A lot of those have come to their fullness here in these times right now. And why is that? Okay, the reason why that is because a lot of people are getting ready to be touched. A lot of people are getting ready to be deleted. All right, and that's the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. That's the whole reason the Lord is had these weapons be developed. All right, that's why the Lord has a famine prepared, plagues prepared, right? The sword prepared. Right, it's not for no reason. Okay, but let's go back. I don't want to get sidetracked too much. All right, let's go back. This is let's go back to that graph real quick. It says, right, when you go into this article, it's basically just breaking down the different industrial revolutions. All right, and the whole idea behind industry is basically what, the management of resources, right, and the manufacturing of resources. All right, in which people are a resource. Okay, human resources. All right, that's really the main resource that the powers to be are concerned with controlling. All right, people. All right, and that lines up with what we're told when you read Revelation 13 and 16, the Motb, which we're going to get into. All right, but in the first on the image, it says first mechanization, water power, steam power. Second, mass production, assembly line, electricity. Third, computer automation. And fourth, it says cyber physical systems. Okay, cyber physical systems. Okay, so that's where things are going. Okay, AI, right? Cyber physical systems. Okay, biotech. All these different terms. All right. But really all it is Esau trying to play God, trying to be God. All right. And let's get a precept to back that up. All right. Let's get this in 2 Thessalonians 2. All right. Because if you're getting into the scriptures, none of this really should surprise you anymore. Now it is there is a wow factor to it all. All right, watching, the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua play out. It is an amazing work. All right, but we already have the up and up on Esau. We already understand how he thinks. All right, we already see the play. We already see the play that he's getting ready to run, man. All right, and it's rooted in his pride and his obsession with getting the birthright back. All right. But let me read this. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse, let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1. All right, this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that the day of Hamashiach is at hand. All right. And you see how Yahushua is the main subject. All right. When you read this, all right, it says by our gathering together unto him. Okay. And that's important because you can see now in today's time, you have a lot of people that know that they're Israelites, but they're making it all about themselves. All right. Or they're making it all about the law, or they're making it about anything that is outside of Yahushua. All right. When in reality, all of this is taking place because of Yahushua. Yahushua is the one who obtained immortality first, who's in the heavens making things happen. The first fruit of the first fruits. Okay, he is the main character in this story we call, reality, man. Okay, but let me keep going. This is verse 3, 2 Thessalonians 2:2 and 3. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." All right, and that falling away is talking about the nation of Israel. All right, becoming a no people. All right, falling away from their heritage, their laws, their customs, their identity. All right, Paul understood that those prophecies still had to come to pass, and they have come to pass in the form of us being scattered over here to America and being called black, right? Being called African Americans. Okay, but there's also another part of that. I'll read that verse again, the last part. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Okay, and we know who the man of sin is. Esau, man. All right, the man of sin. Because who's behind all this? Who's behind all these things? All right, and we're gonna get back into it in a second. Who's behind AI? Who's behind all these technologies that are in opposition to the will of the Most High? Who's behind all this investing and development? All right, who's pushing all this? It's Esau, man. All right, because if it was up to the other nations, they wouldn't have even gotten to this point. Like when you go into, Chinese history, for example, Moab. All right, when you go into their history, they didn't even want anything to do with Europeans, with Esau. They didn't want shit to do with the white man. All right, they didn't want shit to do with them. They were minding their business, like most nations. Okay, but the spirit is on Esau to do what he's doing. Okay, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushua controls both sides, and he uses all sides. He uses all the tools in his tool bag to accomplish his will, so to speak. All right, but let's keep going. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:4. It says, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." All right, so he has a God complex. Right, Esau has a God complex. He's obsessed with controlling things. Right, he's obsessed with controlling things because it makes him feel powerful. All right, or if he can't control it, he'll destroy it. Right, or if he can't destroy it, he'll modify it. Right, which is why we see GMOs and CRISPR and gene editing and all these various so-called sciences. We see Esau doing these things because that's the spirit that the Most High put on him. And he's doing a very productive job at these things. Okay, so let's go back into this. All right, let's go back into this article. All right, so I want to I know there was more I wanted on this. Let me see real quick. Okay, here's what I wanted. Right, because it talks about who the members are of this AI coalition. So it says, zoom in. It says members of the AIIC. All right, let's see. An infrastructure coalition, yeah. It says members of the AIIC include Andreessen Horowitz, Cisco, Corning, Digital Realty, Duke Energy, Entergy, ExxonMobil, Google, Lumen, Meta, Microsoft, NextEra, PG&E, Pinnacle West, and QTS. All right, so these major corporations, all right, are the ones behind this big push. All right, but who runs these corporations? Is there a so-called Negro, right? A nigga in the back somewhere pulling the strings at Google, man? No. All right. It's Esau. All right. He's the proverbial elephant in the room. Okay. And all the nations know it. Everybody knows it. It's not a secret anymore through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right. And the Lord raising up the elders and apostles. Okay. But let's get into this actual document. All right, let me share my screen. All right, because in the article there is a link to the actual AI action plan, and we're going to read a little bit of it. All right. It says, winning the race, America's action plan. Okay, Executive Office of the President of the United States. All right, July 2025. All right, I'm going to read the opening statement and I'm going to jump down and get a couple of points. It says, today, a new frontier of scientific discovery lies before us, defined by transformative technologies such as artificial intelligence. Breakthroughs in these fields have the potential to reshape the global balance of power, right? Which is really bullshit. Because Esau is doing all this so that he can checkmate the game, right? This is his grand master plan. This is his, like if you watch a superhero movie, right, or a cartoon, right? Usually you have an episode, right? And the bad guy has this one main, device, right? Or one main creation, okay, that's going to save him, right? That's going to get him everything that he wants. That's what this is. That's what the NWO is. All right. And this is the NWO. This is playbook. This is textbook right here. All right. But guess what? Yahweh Shem Yahushua is not going to allow these things to win. They're not going to win. But let's prove this. Let's prove that. All right. This is Job chapter 5 and verse 12. It says, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. All right. And let's get into some of these words a little bit. All right. Let's see what it says in devices. Right. That word devices. Machashaba. Right. So it says when you go into outline of biblical usage, it says thought, device, plan, purpose, invention, a contrivance, a texture, a machine. All right, a machine, man. Right, because what else do you have? You have machine learning. Okay. It says a cunning work, curious work. All right. Project, artificial work. There you go. There it is. All right. Second definition. Let me share my screen on this. It says artificial work. All right. So we see this is Esau's. This is the artificial work that the scriptures are talking about. All right. And it's not going to work. But let's go back. It says today a new frontier of scientific discovery lies before us, defined by transformative technology such as artificial intelligence. Breakthroughs in these fields have the potential to reshape the global balance of power, spark entirely new industries, and revolutionize the way we live and work. Right? It says, as our global competitors race to exploit these technologies, it is national security imperative for the United States to achieve and maintain unquestioned and unchallenged global technological dominance. To secure our future, we must harness the full power of American innovation. All right. And again, the whole idea that this is a race is really bullshit too. All right. Because like China, for example, even for China to even be in this position that it's in, it's because of, Edomite investment, right? Western investment. Okay. All the systems, all the Motb systems and things that they're going to need to operate the NWO, they were perfected. All right. A lot of those things were perfected in China. The surveillance grid, things of that nature, social credit score. A lot of those things were perfected over there. That was the testing ground. All right. And that's getting ready to get rolled out globally. Okay. So this it ain't a real race. It's a rigged, it's a like, it's Rome. It's theater. You know, the same way how when you watch you watch the Gladiator movies, right? Or WWE, for example. It's a show. All right. It's a show, man. There's a script, right? You got actors. All right. And you got the crowd going crazy, cheering them on, loving that shit, eating it up. All right. And that's what we have in real life. All right. Let me get another precept. This is Psalms 83. I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, keep not thou silence, O Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Hold not thy peace, be not still, O Yahweh Shem Yahushua. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult. They that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. All right. Which again, this is going into the enemies of the nation. All right, which are the heathen, the so-called, white man, the so-called, Ishmaelite, the so-called, Middle Eastern man, Chinese man, so on and so forth. All right, you do have enemies. We do have enemies, man. All right, now you do have Israelites that are scattered amongst these people that look like these people. All right, but that doesn't mean that you don't have enemies, because we do. All right, and all these enemies, all right, have come into agreement, right? Like we just read about that coalition, right, which is an alliance, right? Let's read this in verse 4. It says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Okay. So that's really the root of this thing. The root of all this really is to eliminate you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. Y'all are the ones with the bullseye on your forehead. Right. Because they understand the power on which we are connected to. All right. Which is the power of the Bible, the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And they're afraid. Right. So let's go back. Let's get some of this. All right. And like I said, it's a pretty meaty. It's not too bad, but we're not going to get too much into the nitty gritty. We're just going to touch on a couple quick points. All right. When you go into the table of contents, right, it says on page 10 and 11, it says accelerate AI adoption in government. All right. Accelerate AI adoption in government. Right. Because they want to use this to govern. All right. This thing is getting ready to be made a god, made an idol. It already is, and it's going to be running the system. Okay. It's going to be running the system. And a matter of fact, let's get a quick article to go with that. The brother Parium shared with me. All right. Because you got nations in the world already today doing this shit, man. Doing this bugged out ass shit, man. All right. This is on the BBC.com. It's September 12th, 2025. It says world's first AI minister will eliminate corruption, says Albania's prime minister. All right. So already you have in another country, right, a government employing artificial intelligence to do actual government, work. All right. And it has a name. Okay. It has an image and everything. It's an idol. It's a work. It says for government officials, being called heartless is an occupational hazard. But Albania has chosen to turn that insult into a positive quality by appointing an AI minister. It says not a minister for artificial intelligence, rather a cabinet member who is literally the work of AI. It says the new addition is like a pop star known simply by a single name, Diella. It says Prime Minister Edi Rama introduced her as a member of his new cabinet on Thursday, 4 months after securing his fourth term in office in May elections. Right. So this shows you, too, that, Babylon the Great, America, Esau, all right, and these institutions and these entities, they're controlling governments all over the world. All right, and they're all juiced in. They're all plugged in. All right, and that proves that links with the, I won't say proves, but it links with the Revelation 13 and 16, right? A small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. Or let me read it. I don't butcher it. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. It says, well, matter of fact, I might need to start up on this. It says, Revelation 13 and 15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. All right. And the image of the beast represents this system. All right. Which is this system right now is being removed and it's being replaced with the NWO, the fourth industrial revolution, things that we go into. It says that the image of the beast should both speak, and it's speaking now, right? Because when you go into speaking in the scriptures, that can go into laws and legislation, making decrees. You know, it says that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, right? Because eventually you're going to be an enemy of the state if you oppose, this way, if you oppose the system, all right, that Esau's erecting. Okay, you're going to be an enemy of the state and you're going to be beheaded, right? That's what the scriptures say, and that's what we see happening. All right. But this is the point of verse 16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? And that no man might buy or sell save he that have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Okay. And the scriptures are breaking down the mark of the beast, the Motb. All right. The charagma, the implantable C-hip. All right. Which is around the corner, by the way. All right. But let me finish this up real quick. Let's go to page 10, bottom of page 10. Hey, shalom, Mike.
Shalom.
But this is on the bottom of page 10. I'm going to read this real quick. It says, the subheader is Accelerate AI Adoption in Government. All right, like we just read that article about the Albanian government. But it says, with AI tools in use, let me share my screen. It says, with AI tools in use, the federal government can serve the public with far greater efficiency and effectiveness. All right. And we already saw a glimpse of that with Doge. All right. Elon Musk and the whole Doge situation. All right. Him basically being, deputized. All right. To clean up a lot of wasted expenditure. You know what I'm saying? So do y'all think that's just the end of it? No, it's just the beginning. Okay. It says use cases include accelerating slow and often manual internal processes, streamlining public interactions, and many others. It says taken together, transformative use of AI can help deliver the highly responsive government the American people expect and deserve. All right. So we can see that now all of a sudden AI is the solution that we needed to make America, what it's supposed to be. Right. Allegedly, So let's go back. Let's keep going on this. I want to get a little bit more. Let's see. We'll jump down to the bottom. There's a point I wanted to make on this. All right, this is when you go to the very bottom of page 23. It says, invest in biosecurity. All right, so let's read a little bit of this. It says, AI will unlock nearly limitless potential in biology. All right. It says cures for new diseases, novel industrial use cases, and more. At the same time, It could create new pathways for malicious actors to synthesize harmful pathogens and other biomolecules. The solution to this problem is a multi-tiered approach designed to screen for malicious actors, along with new tools and infrastructure for more effective screening. All right. And really, that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. That's code for the CHIP, man. All right. The CHIP is what's going to be responsible for determining who's who, what's what you can get access to, what you can't get access to, and it's really that simple. All right. That's what we've been pushing. That's what we've been preaching. And now we see the actual laws and legislation being laid down for the CHIP to be rolled out. All right. And it's clear. It's plain as day. You know what I mean? So let me go ahead and grab a precept. And I'm going to close with that because I believe the point was made. This is on Psalms chapter 33. And I'm going to grab verse 10. It says, "The Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect." All right. And that's what we're getting ready to see happen. Esau is going to try to erect the NWO, and it like the scriptures say, all right, a lot of people will take it. A lot of people are going to take it. All right. But the end result is going to be it backfiring on Esau. The end result is going to be the destruction via the ICBMs and via the 10 horns, or the horns hating the whore and burning her with fire. All right. But I don't want to misquote that. Let me get that real quick. Right. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore," right? The whore being Babylon the Great, America. It says, "And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and shall burn her with fire." All right. So that's the end game. That's the end result. Doesn't matter what you do, Esau. Don't matter. All right. That's the determination in the heavens, So just wanted to make a quick point on that. Lord willing, it was edifying. With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles again, and Shalom.